Hey, this is Brent Leary. Ooh, at the end of the year, it's been a really good year. It's been a busy year of travel and events and AI. You cannot get away from AI even if you tried. Luckily for me, I'm not really trying that hard. And luckily for me, right now, my guest for the next few good minutes is David Singer, who is the Global VP of Go to Market Strategy for Verint. Dave, also in his spare time, he's Captain America. So, David, thank you for taking time off from all that stuff you got going and spend a few good minutes with.
Thanks for inviting me, Brent. It's always fun to get together, hang out, chat for a bit.
Absolutely. So, we literally had a chance to talk a little bit last month at Verint's Analyst Day, and a lot of stuff was going on there. I have to point out, though, there was a bit of a disappointment because the shield that everybody's seen in the background, he usually travels with that. He didn't have it with him at Analyst Day. I almost did not recognize you for the minute there.
Yeah, I've got my lapel pin for when I forget the shield, but the full size wasn't there. I apologize, Brent. Won't let that happen again.
Okay, all right, folks. We just recorded that, so you heard him. All right, so at the analyst days for Verint, lots of really good stuff. There's about, I don't know, 15, 20 analysts there. It's a day and a half of really digging in and understanding what's going on with Verint. One thing that really stood out to me, and I think it actually got a lot of people's attention, beyond the attention that they were already given throughout the course of the event. When you guys broke out and started talking about, I want to make sure I get this right, the time flex bot.
Yeah.
And I don't know if the term was brought out there, but the whole idea of the Uberization of the contact center via some of these newer technologies, AI and chatbots. And you guys talked about this whole concept and how you guys are doing it using your technology. So I wanted to dig in because it perked up everybody's eyes. What Uberization? Everybody kind of has an idea of what Uber is, but how does that fit into what's going on with the contact center? So why don't you kind of just take us at the high level and talk about what am I talking about? What is this whole idea of the Uberization of the contact center, and how do you guys do that, and why are you guys doing that?
So first, I love that intro, Brent, asking me to tell you what you're talking about. It's a good start for a conversation.
I try,
Yeah. So a couple of things. One is, it's interesting. You did what a lot of people are doing these days and talked about AI and then Gen AI almost in the same breath. And what's really important is that although Gen AI is, the hot topic for the last year, right? You can't do anything without Gen AI. It's not the only kind of AI out there, right? There's other pieces that are there. So when we look at the workforce management problem in the contact center, we get, you remember the old reductive WFM? It's the art and the science of getting the right person in the right place, at the right time to handle the work. Right? So we wrapped a couple of things around that. One is we did use Gen AI. So there's a conversational interface. You can just ask, what's my schedule next week? Can I have Monday off? As opposed to navigating the old interfaces. But the Uberization part you're talking about, I think is really interesting. And there's two kind of parts of the Uber construct that we can talk about. One is self-selection, right? Uber drivers decide, when do I want to work? When don't I want to work? And part of what that is controlled is, how much money am I going to make, right? There's surge pricing, there's regular pricing, all that stuff wrapped around. And then you look in a contact center, there's amount of work to be done. There's calls coming in, there's chats coming in. So we need people to handle those interactions. But for people, life happens, right? Kid gets sick, or, the flip side. Hey, my spouse is on a business trip, so I might as well work an extra 12 hours this week because, what else am I going to do? And you find that over a reasonable number of people, there's always somebody who wants to work any given shift. Right? There's always somebody who, this is good for me, this is not so good. And so it's always possible to balance the needs of the organization with the needs of the employees. So what the time flex lets us do is give agents control over that with sort of a market dynamics construct. So you can say, hey, we've got a call spike this afternoon, but I really want to leave a half hour early to see my son's performance in his school play.
Right.
So I have like these flex coins. That's going to cost me like 50 flex coins because it's a really bad time for the business. But conversely, tomorrow morning, we're forecasting a real lull. We don't need as many people to be scheduled.
Right.
So I can earn 50 coins by offering to not work that time. So you can sort of trade off. I want to work here. I don't want to work there. And we see customers have deployed this, making literally thousands more shift adjustments every week with zero effort from management.
Wow.
And it automatically balances the needs of the person, the business. It's really cool.
One of the aspects, because you start thinking about, this does really sound like Uber, because these folks are able to make up their own schedule and choose, when to work, maybe choose what kind of issues to work on. I don't know. Maybe we can talk a little bit about that, but it's the empowerment of the agent, but it also, hopefully, because that agent feels empowered, probably feels a little better about their job, which hopefully will translate into when they do have a service request or something they need to do, an experience they're trying to solve for a customer. It not only is it solved, but it's also solved maybe efficiently, and dare I say, with even a bigger smile on their face. So everybody is, not only is it being solved, but it's being solved in a manner that makes them feel better and hopefully translates over to the customer.
Absolutely. I mean, we all talk about, right? The number one driver of customer experience is employee experience. When the employees feel valued and respected, that comes through in how they treat the customers. So again, we see this go up. We see that going up, and the truest measure that this is driving better employee experience is we just finished one of our customers. They did an A/B test. We're going to deploy it here, and not for this team. We're going to measure where they deployed it. They had more than 85% adoption of the employees who chose to use this.
Wow!
And their attrition rate went down by 24%.
Wow!
So I mean, think about just the cost savings to an organization of having a 24% reduction in churn in the contact center, and then which means the people treating your customers are more skilled because they're more tenured, and they're going to give better customer experience because they feel more empowered.
Talk a little bit about how agents earn these flex coins. Is it based on their experience, their expertise, their tenure, their service, like drivers at Uber get rated, and do the customers rate the contact center agents, and does that go into this whole thing?
So there's I want to put it in two buckets. All the stuff that you can do, and then what unique magic pixie dust does this put on top to make it even better, right? So what you always want to have is that, hey, for any shift, you need this skill. We want you rated in these skills. We want the top performers here. All that good stuff. All that's in there, and that controls. Even if everything was free, would Brent be allowed to cover this shift, or must Dave cover that shift, right? So all that's baked into the engines.
Okay.
What TimeFlex does with the coin concept is say it's about when you work and the value of when you work, right? So we know we need more people at busy times. We know we need fewer people when there's a fall off in work. And one of the really cool things that makes it possible now is with work from home, this distributed workforce, you can do this in 15-minute increments. You think of the bad old days, pre-2020, when all contact center work, nobody would sign up for a 45-minute shift. It's not worth your time to get to the office. But now I might want to work an hour in the afternoon, and that would earn me coins because I'm picking up this time that we don't have to do a shift bid. We don't have to do a request. We just put out there, hey, this is what's going on, and I can sign up and I pick up that shift, and I get to earn coins because the company really needed that and it interrupted my day. Now, when I want to take some time off, I don't have to ask for approval. I can just spend my coins, and the system calculates what is the value of the work and what is the value of the time off based on the work that needs to be done, the forecast, and it's dynamically calculated.
dynamic is it? How real time is it? Because sometimes, I'm at the airport and
Mhm.
I look for a price on Uber and it's
Mhm.
one price, and then I'll just wait like a couple of minutes and then I'll try it again, and it's either higher or lower.
Yeah.
So how does that work with this?
It's like most WFM stuff. It's 15-minute increments, right? So we look at, you need a certain period of time to learn a forecast. You can't forecast from one data point. So, but forecasts get updated, actuals get updated, and value of the time blocks gets updated in 15-minute increments, and you can adjust in 15-minute increments.
Nice. And
No,
so,
Verint, don't do that.
all right. Forget what I'm talking here. No, so this is all good stuff. Now,
Yeah.
what do customers or companies really need to know before they actually try this? What are some of the things that, the culture or the skills or the kind of the policies should they really have in place before they actually go this route?
So I'd say any customer who has a good shift swap, shift bid, VTO kind of structure in place is really well suited for this, because this really just makes that whole process simpler, right? Instead of saying, hey, I'd like to take time off this afternoon here, and I want to pick up this shift. I want to split my shift here, and all these requests go into a queue and get managed, and some get auto approved. And it's all automatic. There's no approval queue, so it just takes a whole layer of work off the management team. But you need to have a culture of at least some level of flexibility for your employees. If you have that, this just makes it easier and more effective. But that's really the thing. You need to have that. I say that's the cultural piece, allowing flexibility for your employees, and that's about it. It's really seamless when it goes in.
Because there's so much data being created around this through this whole process, and with AI, of course, being a part of the foundation now. Does the system also say, there's a need, or there's this, there's a rush, there's a need for this particular type of skill set or experience? Do you see, or does it already do it where it says, there's this need, and wow, the people that are really best for this aren't right on, but should we notify them and see if they want to come on, and they get a certain amount of flex coins for that? Or is it pure like who first come first serve, based on if you have the capabilities to handle this particular situation?
It's a bit of both. It's whoever signs up for it first, but you're only eligible to take that if you have the skills and criteria necessary to solve for that shift segment. Okay. So if we see it, it may show up that, hey, I would see the ability to extend my shift by half an hour today, but you don't see that option, because what they need, because you have skills 1 and 2, I have skills 2 and 3, and it needs skill 3 to extend the shift. And so it's first come first serve, but that is only out of the pool of people who are appropriate for that request. That makes sense?
Yeah, it does actually. And I'm starting to wonder, what are some of the things, potential roadblocks or challenges that companies need to be aware of up front before they kind of implement this thing?
To edit out a recording. I'm trying to think. It's a remarkably easy thing to deploy.
That's actually you had to think that hard to come up with something. That's actually pretty interesting. No, that's cool.
It's I said, really the only thing, I guess, is like any automation technology, people can be apprehensive about, does this really work? If I give up this control, are my service levels going to tank? Are my is my performance going to go in the wrong direction? So you need to be, again, in a place where you're ready to enable automation and allow it to work. And we'll generally see people watching it a lot more closely at the beginning of deployment because,
Yeah.
again, nobody trusts the new stuff right away. But it really goes in remarkably simply, right? It sits on top of the existing WFM and just provides this extra layer of functionality. So you don't have to swap out your WFM, luckily, because you already have Verint, which is the best WFM out there. So it's going to work seamlessly for you. All your schedules are in place, all your forecasting in place. This just gives that level of agent empowerment on top of that. So it goes in really easily, and you just need to be willing to trust the automation and monitor it until you get that trust.
Awesome, Dave. This has been great.
Yeah.
Just trying to think if there anything else I should be asking, because to me it's kind of just a really interesting concept, but now it's actually, I see it coming to life here. Are there any new metrics or new data points that may be introduced into the contact center because of this?
I mean, the only one I've seen people measuring, I could, I'm trying to think if there'd be a black market in coins you're trading between people or something, which would be bizarre, but we haven't seen that. We see people measuring how many more shift changes happen, but it's not a metric you want to drive on. Oh, we want to get to 10,000 shift changes. It's more an interest point to track adoption, and wow, to validate that we really did need this thing. Look how much people are being clamoring for this.
Yeah. So peer out into the future, a year or two from now, when more and more people are utilizing this, what does success look like from Verint's perspective, but also from your customer's perspective?
Right. So from Verint's perspective, I'd like to see every one of our WFM customers adopt this. I think the benefits, it's a no-brainer from a benefit perspective. It is so powerful and empowering to the employees. And from a customer perspective, I think they'll have more engaged, happier employees, which will drive better overall CX. And what's everyone? More money, right? Better customer experience drives increased revenues. Reduced employee attrition drives massive operational cost savings. So I think success, both for customers, financial and experiential success, and for Verint, I think we're gonna see a huge demand for this across our WFM base, and I'd like to see it everywhere.
I just think it's I just like the term Uberization of the contact center. I think it's intriguing because everybody knows Uber, but in the context of that, it's like, oh, and then you just, like we just talked about it, you start thinking about all the ways that you can see it impacting the contact center, because just through your regular use of Uber, all the different things that have that happen, you can actually see it happening with this.
Absolutely. And I'll give you one more example. Think of it this way, right? Working at home, say a big chunk of your employee base is going to want to be there when their kids get home from school, get them settled in, give them a snack, get them sorted, but you maybe only need 45 minutes, right? And then they're going to be watching TV or doing homework, you back to work. But every school district finishes school at a different time. So if you just let all your employees split their shift to take a 45-minute break when their kids come home, that will naturally distribute over a 2 or 3 hour window because of the difference in school districts and days off and everything else. So to try to balance that algorithmically and at a management level to say, how am I going to make sure that Brent has time off from 3 to 3:45, but Dave's is from 3:30 to 4:15, and it's impossible. But if you just put the system in place, let people split their shift to get a break when they need it, and they're going to do that by picking up the coins they need somewhere else. Maybe they earn coins because it's a slow time. Now you have an employee base that can support the needs of the organization, better serve the customers, and take care of their families. And if that isn't a winning situation, I don't know what is.
Yeah, that's awesome. And all the while you're learning, because you're seeing who's using it, what times, what they're good at, and all the while you're collecting data that I'm guessing you do have all that AI capability, so you're able to use that AI capability I guess in a virtuous loop, because all the data is always coming in, and that always allows for continuous improvement as everything goes on.
Exactly right. And it's always calculating, recalculating the number of coins earned or charged per change. So it better and better aligns to the needs of your employees and the needs of your organization and the needs of your customers.
All right. We just heard it right from Captain America. I mean, what can you ask for? David, thanks for joining me, man. This is a pleasure. Happy holidays to you. And I look forward to seeing how this all goes next year in 2024, because it's going to be fascinating to watch this as you guys get more and more customers picking this up.
I agree. Again, thanks for having me on. Always a pleasure talking. Happy holidays, and I'll talk to you in the new year.
All right. All right. That's Brent Leary. It's been a few good minutes. Enjoy your rest of the weekend, day, afternoon, whenever you watch this, because, this is on-demand stuff here. Thanks again for watching.